Meanwhile, while Manon is really not doing well, we have Aelin, Adrian, and Lysandra all together traveling towards Skulls Bay, but they stop off at this kingdom right on the seaside, which contains this really big monument to Brannon. Now, we've heard of Brannon before. He's the guy whose symbol was on Selena's forehead at the end of her competition in book 1, the symbol that literally means nameless. Turns out Brannon was king of Terrasen. His daughter, we have met several times because he was Elena's dad. This is a really important tidbit for us to know because it absolutely solidifies the fact that Aelin and Dorian are related. Obviously, Elena was the first queen of Ardalan, so she is Dorian's whatever grandmother. But Bran and Elena's dad, he was the king of Terrasen. So he's Aelin's great whatever granddad. Both Dorian and Aelin share Brannon as an ancestor. So seeing his temple is pretty cool. And it's at this point Aelin starts sharing some information with Adrian and Lysandra about what her current plans are. They've managed to secure passage on a ship. There's this really cool little tidbit as they're walking along inside this temple that there's a sea dragon like painted on the wall, and Lysandra's looking at the art. She's just having a nosy. Homegirl's taking an interest in mythical beings. It's not even like a massive thing. It's just one sentence mentioned that as they're walking along, she's stopped and she's looking at this artwork. Turns out to be a massive gag. Now, the captain whose ship they've booked on, he lets them know Maeve, all the way over in like Wendelin, she's been preparing a fleet to sail over the sea. Not good at all. We do not want Maeve anywhere near us. While they're in this temple, Lysandra starts hypothesizing. Look, like, Brannon has a temple because he was really closely associated with the gods. You know, maybe there's some kind of bigger plan at play. Something from, like, the actual gods themselves intervening. And they've got gods for everything. We've got Helios, the god of death, who Lorcan's, you know, like this with. So they have this pantheon of gods that they believe in. And Lysandra just starts vocalizing that it's a bit of coincidence that all of this is wrapping up and Aelin and Dorian both seem to be very important in whatever's going on. Some kind of godly plan. The group are attacked by some Ilium soldiers. We're in Ilium, by the way. Don't know if I remember to say that. And we do, however, get to see a really cool use of Aelin's powers, where she just breathes on this man and burns him alive from the inside out. Hence fire-breathing bitch queen. So cool! We basically find out that Aelin brought the team to Ilium, like they made the stop off, because she received a message from the little people in the forests of Terrasen that had supposedly come from her ancestor Brennan. So she visits the temple and is there to ask his ghost how they defeat Maeve. And he admits to her he doesn't actually know, but he does tell her to go and find the lock that's out in the stone marshes that'll sink the weird keys into the door and do away with them forever. So this lock he's talking about and thinking of, that must somehow be related to the Weird Gate. And in typical Adian fashion, while Lysandra's looking at the art, Aelin is communing with a ghost. He's eavesdropping. Because why not? A troop of guards then arrive, and they've come over from Endovia, hell on earth, and they battle with the members of Aelin's court we have present in Ilium. Erwin starts talking to the group, like, via the mouth of one of these guards. And he says, look, I know that Rowan rescued Dorian. My soldiers are tracking them. And that's sounding a bit too threatening for my girl Aelin, so she starts burning the man that's possessed from the inside out, because why wouldn't she? Erwin tries to shoot her, but he somehow misses the amulet of Orinth that she's wearing by like a couple of inches. Like he nearly hits the weird key, but doesn't quite manage to hit the right spot. And this is really stressful for everybody because as far as they're aware, that's the last weird key he needs. Like he's hunting the amulet of Orinth, not knowing that one of the weird keys is currently with my girl Alid. Meanwhile, my boys, Rowan and Dorian, they've arrived in Skulls Bay and they go to visit Captain Rolf. And Rolf tells them what he's aware of from Marath, because they can kind of see Marath from where they are. And he admits that some of his men were captured and changed into Valg-possessed demons over at Marath. So Ralph's got a bit of a bone to pick, which Rowan is happy to explain. Well, there's this guy, Erwin, and this is his plan. This is what he's done to your men. And they assume that Rolf's going to join him. Rolf's going to agree. They ask him for his help, and Rolf doesn't reply, but he's like, let me call in a couple of my guys. I happen to have a couple of Fae on my side too, and the door opens. And we see, I kid you not, Gavriel and Fenris, another member of the cadre, Rowan's former teammates. And Gavriel is very, very important because he is Adrian's dad, even though Adrian doesn't know that and Gavriel doesn't know that either. Now, they are not exactly friendly when they walk into the room. You've got to view them, they're like Rowan's former work friends. You know, the moment you stop being colleagues, you're kind of banning for the other team, that relationship sours pretty quick. Those two, they're still blood sworn to Maeve. And they want to know, is Aelin with you? Is Aelin here? Where is Aelin? As an FYI, Maeve's got like a whole armada of Fae, and she is heading towards Elwë to attack Elwë. Because obviously that's going to send Aelin over the edge, because Nehemia was her homegirl. Elwë was her homegirl's home. That's definitely going to upset Aelin. All of the men start bickering and arguing. It's all very childish. And Rolf makes it very clear he's not going to make any decisions until he can talk to this Queen Aelin of Terrasen. And you realise, oh no, Rolf doesn't know. Rolf don't know who Aelin is. And Gavriel admits that they've been sent on a mission, he and Fenris, to find Lorcan and kill Lorcan. Dun, dun, dun. And Robin asks them, like, look, will you please fight with us against Erwin? It's going to be a really cool battle, guys. What do we do best? We fight really well together in battles. We have fun. It's what we're good at. It's what's made us famous. And just to sweeten the deal, pretty certain Lorcan's going to turn up if you stick with us, because he's hunting Aelin, and Aelin's going to be with us. So if you hang around with our team long enough, Lorcan's probably going to turn up and you can kill him. Classic Rowan. And just to kind of incentivize them to join Team Galathinius, Rowan's like, oh yeah, BT dubs, Gavriel. We've got your son. He is one of our team. And Gavriel is just gagged. He's like, what? I've got a son? It's so good. He's pretty speechless, but he's very interested. As you would be. He's got a kid somewhere. And they all immediately realize this is quite important information, okay? Because as far as Maeve's concerned, she owns the cadre. And thus, she would own any of their children. And one thing Gavriel immediately clocks onto is that he does not want Maeve finding out that he's got a kid. His first instinct is to protect his child, okay? He doesn't want Maeve to have any claim on his kid at all. He's already a good dad. While they're waiting in Skulls Bay, Dorian and Rowan are getting to know each other, and they're training together. Rowan's training Dorian. Oh, it's so cool. Let's be buddies, let's be friends, please. And they're just kind of waiting for news of Aelin or Dorian's brother Hollin and his mum, because Erwin's plan is to control Ardalan through them. You know, basically rule Dorian out of the line of succession and have Hollin act as king instead. But they grow tired of just waiting to hear anything real. So Dorian pretends to receive news. He like fakes a letter. His homeboy's smart, and he realizes that obviously Rolf has spies watching them. So if it looks like Dorian's got some exciting news, Rolf's gonna want to know what the news is. And to no one's surprise, they get called into a meeting. Little do they know that at the same time, Aelin sweeps in to Skulls Bay on a boat. Lysandra's like a bird on the top of it. It's iconic. But Aelin, Adrian, and Lysandra, they're all here in Skulls Bay. We get one of my favorite scenes in the entire series ever. Because when Rowan and Gabriel and Fenris and Dorian and Captain Rolfe all walk into Captain Rolfe's office, who is sat at his desk? Aelin. And it's so iconic because Rolfe sees red. He's like, "You're never meant to be back here, Selena Sardathian. What the hell do you think you're doing?" And she goes fully into Selena. She is giving it chat. She's pretending to nick stuff from him, blah, blah, blah. And she legit starts flirting with Rowan. She does. And she's like, "Ah, you're pretty fine. I bet the woman who's I bet your girlfriend's really something, you know, to have a man that's like you, she's got to be a 10 out of 10. And Rowan's like, "Yeah, she is a 10 out of 10. And oh, it's such good flanter. Like, oh, they're so good. And Rowan's trying hard not to laugh. He's actually giving it back. And it's like, oh, Riz overload. And she's all flirting with Rowan and winding up Rolfe, and it sends him over the edge. And Rolfe turns to the others in the room and it's like, "If you want my loyalty, kill her. Kill Selena Sardothi, and she is a menace." But then Aelin's like, "Oh, but I brought you the Queen of Terrasen. I brought you Aelin Galathinius." And the door opens and in walks Aelin. And Rolfe's like, "Psych, it's Lysandra." And she shapeshifts in front of them all. And Rolfe's like, "What the hell?" And then he turns to Aelin and she's sat at his desk and he's like, "Surprise! I'm Aelin Galathinius, sucker." Oh, and these books get really bleak, and there's just one genuine piece of levity that, oh, it warms my heart. It warms my heart. She's so brilliant. And Aelin basically challenges Rolfe. She's like, "Dude, if you come help us, I'll make you the king of pirates. Like, you will be super duper legit. I'm a queen. I can do this for you." And Gavriel, who's obviously in the room, demands to see his son. He knows that Aelin and Rowan know who his son is, and his son is probably here with her. But my girl Aelin's like, "I ain't telling you nothing, Gavriel." And the meeting ends, and Dorian and Rowan and Aelin, they all catch each other up on what they know, what they don't know, what's happened since they've been apart. And Aelin's noticed Rolfe has this magic map printed on his hands. And it shows like real-time events and where treasure's hidden and all that jazz. She thinks they're probably gonna need the magic map that's on Rolfe's hands, so getting Rolfe involved in their schemes, it's a non-negotiable. It needs to happen. Now, Aelin and Rowan talk to Gavriel and Fenris about what's going on with Maeve and about how the Blood Oath works, what they can and can't do, and they're trying to glean what it is Maeve's planning. But none of them really trust each other, so it's not really a useful session. One morning, Aedion and Gavriel meet by accident, and obviously Gavriel looks at Aedion's like, "Oh my god, he's my spitting image." Whilst Gavriel is just gagged, like, "Oh my god, I have a son, look at him, he's magnificent." Aedion is fuming. Because obviously he was raised by a single mother. And his mum died of an illness she probably could have been healed from if she'd returned to Wendelin, but she refused. And Aedion has surmised that her refusal to return to Wendelin and seek proper medical attention probably had something to do with who his dad was, and Aedion is correct in that. So their first meeting really, really doesn't go well. Aedion's horrible to Gavriel, and Gavriel just kind of takes it. And afterwards, Aedion says to Lysandra, "Oh, I think I've just messed things up for everybody. Don't we need him to be our friend?" And Lysandra's like, "Babe, it's fine. Like, you'll be okay." And we start getting the ship that is Lysandra and Aedion as a couple. Now, because he's got this magic map on his hands, Rolfe knows what's going on at sea. He lets Aelin and Rowan know that Maeve's armada are definitely sailing for Elwë now. And Aelin, she just knows that it's in retaliation for what had happened just before coming to Skulls Bay over at Ilium. It's all connected. And she knows that they're attacking Elwë because of how much he loved Nehemia. So she asks Rolf to send his fleet of ships to go and fight for Elwy, and she promises to back him in becoming like the Lord of Ilium after the war. Because Selena has figured out that Rolf is the pirate lord because he and the pirates all living in Skulls Bay are actually Mycenaeans. Ilium, the place that Aelin, Aegean, and Lysandra had been just before coming to Skulls Bay, that's actually their homeland. They're all from Ilion, which is really cool because they're the Mycenaeans and it's called Ilium, and they're both from classical mythology. But basically, they were seafaring folk that all got kicked out of their homeland and have ended up settling in Skulls Bay. So by rights, if Aelin becomes Queen of Terrasen again, she can give Ilium back to Rolf and make him the Lord of Ilium and let his people live in Ilium again and not be stuck out on these rocks out in the middle of nowhere in Skulls Bay. She decides to trade that, and Rolf doesn't immediately agree. And it's because the Mycenaeans are really, really superstitious. And they believe that they'll be able to return to their homeland when the sea dragons return to the world. Which explains why Lysandra saw sea dragons on the temple in Ilium. They're their special animal, like the white stag is for Terrasen.